Dolphins fans, what is going on? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. Now, the 2023 NFL Draft is in the books, but that did not stop the Dolphins from working those phones because immediately after the draft, reports were coming out of numerous undrafted free agents that the team was signing. Now, as of today, I'm going to have the ones that have been at least reported to be announced going along on the scroll. They'll all be there, like I said, as of today's recording. I am going to take a deeper dive into one in particular, and then I've got some news, some notes, some nuggets that I've got on a few of the others as well. And like I said, you can see as of my recording today, the ones that are going on the scroll are the ones that we have. But the one that I'm going to do a deeper dive into is Jackson State linebacker Aubrey Miller. Now, he's a little bit more of like a undrafted free agent, bigger name playing at Jackson State, the school that Primetime Deion Sanders used to coach. And Primetime had some nice words to say about Aubrey Miller as well, essentially calling him the team leader, the quarterback of the defense, the tone setter, kind of our guy that things run through. So he was a big contributor and component to that Jackson State defense. He goes 6 foot 229. Last year he had 112 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, and was named the Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And the year before, he actually led the conference in total tackles. Now, he does have a little bit of D1 FBS experience as well. Transferred, played a little bit at Missouri, and then the rest of his time was spent at Jackson State. But he's a fluid, smooth athlete, definitely rocked up tone setter. When you look at him, you know the analogy, he's the first off the bus kind of guy. That is essentially what this guy is. He comes off the bus, the other team, for me to explain it, in case you haven't heard that, gets off the bus, the other team says, we got to play that. That's what we're going against. So that's the kind of guy he is. He's a big hitter, dynamic tackler, always looking for a way to get to track down that ball carrier. Plays low, ready to pounce. Pretty good sideline to sideline speed. I did see one scout saying he called him serviceable in coverage as a linebacker, but pretty good speed, ability to stay with running backs, tight ends. The negatives that I had learned about him was kind of the inability to stay with twitchier athletes. And obviously that may present more issues in coverage at the next level. Staying with guys at the FCS level is one thing. When you get to the NFL, much different. So that could potentially lead to some issues at the next level as well. He can also misread some plays, and then once he's out of position, offensive linemen that get to the next level can kind of swallow him up, take him out of plays. And then lastly, tackling in space has created some issues for him as well. But a lot of the scouts that I had read about seem pretty confident that he can at least be an impactful special teamer. And maybe he can eventually work his way onto the field at linebacker in certain situations. But if he can make enough noise in camp, make enough flash plays in camp, wouldn't be surprised it's because the coaches think, you know what, this guy can be a special teams contributor. So he's kind of the lead guy in my opinion. Like I said, though, I do have nuggets on quite a few other guys. I'm going to go through them kind of quick. The one guy that also really stood out to me is from a smaller school as well, but it was Zeke Vandenburgh, edge player out of Illinois State. He's 6'3", 235, had 100 tackles last year, including 14 sacks. Yes, smaller school, big-time athletes like this stand out at those schools, but 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year. I watched a little bit of film on him last night, and granted, like I said, smaller, lesser competition, twitchy athlete, nice bend, good speed around the edge. Definitely keep your eye on him throughout camp. Like I said, I'll go through these next ones kind of quick. Brandon Pili, he was a defensive tackle out of USC, 6'4", 325. The Dolphins gave him $100,000 in guaranteed money. Now, you kind of want to watch the money when it comes to these UDFAs, but at the end of the day, it's not always a guarantee because I believe it was Kellen Deesh last year, the offensive lineman the Dolphins gave quite a bit to, and he ended up not making the team either. So you never truly know. But last year, 25 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 10 career tackles for a loss. But we know the Dolphins wanted to add to the interior defensive line. You got Wilkins, you got Sealer, you got Davis. but still looking for a John Jenkins replacement at some point as well. DJ Scaife, offensive lineman out of Miami, experience at guard and tackle, has kind of platooned between the two positions over the last few years. Alex Jensen, a lineman out of South Dakota, he is 6'7", 290. Started at left tackle the last 2 seasons at South Dakota. Obviously a taller, leaner player. Another edge player, Garrett Nelson out of Nebraska. Now, he reportedly picked the Miami Dolphins over 11 other offers. So that's saying something right there. He also took a top 30 visit with the Dolphins earlier this offseason prior to the draft as well. 6'3", 240, had 9 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks, was second team All Big Ten last year as well. Ethan Bonner, a cornerback, kind of safety, potential hybrid out of Stanford as well. The Dolphins gave him $80,000 in guaranteed, 28 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss last year. 6'1", like I said, some believe he can play cornerback, can play safety, but he ran a 4.39 40 at his pro day. So once again, the Dolphins with their eye on the speed. Another defensive lineman out of Mississippi State, Randy Charlton. 36 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks last season. Pretty good numbers right there. Did play 3 seasons at Central Florida, the past 2 at Mississippi State. Got another offensive lineman, this time out of Michigan State, Jarrett Horst. Allowed 3 sacks in 427 snaps at left tackle for the Spartans last season. Did see some people thinking, you know what, give this guy a shot on the interior at guard, see what he can do there. But another lineman to keep a name on. For the 3rd straight offseason, the Dolphins went ahead and added an Oregon safety, obviously drafted Javon Holland, brought in McKinley last offseason as a UDFA, and then Bennett Williams as a UDFA this yesterday, actually. 8 career interceptions, 2 last season. The Dolphins gave him $25,000 guaranteed. And then the last name that I'm going to say here, hopefully I'm not butchering it too bad. Alama Uluave. Hopefully I'm saying that close to correct. I haven't done as much research on him. Like I said, just got a little bit of news nuggets here. Played center at San Diego State. Dolphins gave him $65,000 guaranteed, and he was a first-team All-Mountain West last year, only allowed 1 sack as well. So that's what I've got as of today for the UDFAs. Like I said, as more continue to come in, I do have a UDFA tracker going on the YouTube community page. Continue to check that out, be adding them as they come in. But let's hear your thoughts. If any of those guys stand out, if it's Aubrey Miller, whoever it may be, go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comments. I will be back. I think I'm still going to be doing some post-draft grades, recap of everything of how it went. So stay tuned for that as well. But until then, Dolphins fans, fins up.